So the NHL has a salary cap issue and more pertaining around the long-term injury reserve. A lot of fans are not happy when they're seeing certain teams, right now the Vegas Golden Knights, putting high cap hit contracts on LTIR and then having them come back for the playoffs, thus allowing them to make a move before the trade deadline or having a roster that would not be allowed in the regular season. Now the Vegas Golden Knights have been accused of this, but Tampa Bay Lightning, when they won their cups, they also had some of this LTIR shenanigans going on as well. So what is the answer? What is something the NHL can do to prevent this type of manipulation in the future? Let's be very clear here. This is not recent. There's been Stanley Cup winners in the past that have been over the salary cap during the playoffs. But in recent years, it's been extremely blatant. And this conversation has picked up because Jack Eichel was put on LTIR. Mark Stone has been rumored to be possibly put on LTIR. And both of their salary cap hits combined would be 19.5, maybe allowing the Vegas Golden Knights to add another piece. To be fair, I'm not sure many teams are willing to make a strong team even stronger, but it is a valid concern. If Mark Stone gets put on LTIR, the Knights could go to a basement dwelling team, pick up another piece, and then when the playoffs come around, they'll be absolutely stacked yet again. So what is it the NHL can do to prevent some of these shenanigans in the future? In an ideal world, the salary cap should still matter in the playoffs for this particular reason. You don't have teams putting guys on LTIR and then encouraging them to sit maybe an extra week or two, wait until the playoffs, and game the system in that manner. It ruins the competitive balance, in my opinion. Now, to be fair to players, I think some of them have been truly hurt in the past, and they come back to the playoffs. I understand that. But with how many times it's happened with a few teams in the recent years, I do think it's a trend, and it's a smart trend on the team's part. Why not try to give yourself the best opportunity to win a Stanley Cup by manipulating the salary cap? But I do believe the cap should be in fact in the postseason. If your roster would not be compliant in the regular season, why should you be allowed to have a non-compliant roster in the playoffs when the stakes are so high? I think the Vegas Golden Knights are a very good team and have the capability to go back-to-back without bringing in any more additions, but I can understand from the fan perspective why this is such a problem. I'll be very frank. Most teams around the NHL are tight up against the cap. They're really struggling to stay underneath it, and this is why you have had teams adopt this type of strategy. And some of these problems will be alleviated once the cap goes up again next season, but from a competitive standpoint, I do think the salary cap exemption in the playoffs is a problem. And if you're not going to enforce it in the playoffs, well, why have a salary cap to begin with? You can argue it's very situational. This isn't something that happens on every single NHL team, but it's an honest to God question you can have. Why bother having a salary cap if it doesn't even matter in the playoffs? The 20 players you have in the lineup for a playoff game should all have to be cap compliant. And if you are over the threshold, that should make the game ineligible. Maybe that's not a popular opinion, but until the NHL gets a little more hardline with these rules, you're going to keep seeing teams manipulate the cap the way they are. Like to know your thoughts down below in the comment section. Would you like the salary cap to be enforced in the playoffs, or do you think it's fine the way it is? I'm Paul from the Locker Room. I'll see you in the next one.